But anyways, the open borders left, they support mass immigration because it is the most effective tool for long-term demographic engineering and electoral dominance. It buys them votes. It buys them a new vote. Keep voting me into office, I'll keep giving you free shit.
Really? Is that what Kamala ran on? Did Kamala run on open borders? Right? She's a lib, right? She's a libtard. Is that what did Kamala, did she run on opening the floodgates? Is that what she did?
It's all about compassion to them, no matter how they try to frame it.
That's not what I remember.
Democrats understand that if they import millions of people from poor third world nations and people who come from socialist leaning cultures, people who
he's right that like Democrats, Republicans, they want brown people to come here so their labor can be exploited by the corporations that sponsor them. Okay, yes, obviously. It's just that the idea that the Dems are like being open and honest about how they want to exploit brown people, that they get to immigrate here through relentless bombing campaigns, that's insanity. Okay, there are tons of Democrats that posture themselves as tough on immigration all the time. It happens all the time, and it's stupid when they do it too. Oh, he's dead.
It's time to run.
That's right. You're goddamn right, it's time to run. Well, that's not how that works. That doesn't happen in the game. Yeah, hit him. Hit him with your paws. Oh, yeah, you're running. You scared, boy. You scared.
It's time to eat something.
Alright, anyway, today I am reacting to a JimmyTalks video. Yay! And this one is a feature length, okay? This is a fucking hour long. Oh my god.
Destructive it is for the West, but there have been times where I may have not dived into even more aspects on why it just does not work. And the reason for that is because, honestly, I just forget to do things sometimes. YouTube takes up a lot of time, and I also have other obligations to get to. But, as well, at the same time, there's some guidelines you need to follow on YouTube sometimes. But also, fuck that shit, because I want to tell the unapologetic truth. It's why people have subscribed to the channel so much. It is why I was able to get 50,000 subs in just 1 year, which is unheard of.
Yeah, I'm just telling it like it is. Yeah.
Listen to this stuff. But anyways, we need to look at all facets of immigration and how it is just brought here to America, as well as
get to the
Western
point.
Countries. Those are our allies across the sea, Europe, UK, even if Europe...
Blah, 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 yap.
Some of them are really just like, Americans are so stupid, and it's like, okay, we guard your country. But anyways, with all that out of the way, I do want to peel away...
What was that accent?
It's like, okay, it's that we're all stupid sometimes. Not all of them, of course. It's just, some of them are really just like, Americans are so stupid, and it's like, okay...
But he did a Worcestershire.
Out of the way, I do want to peel away the layers of the onion that the establishment...
Why do you like British people so much, bruh? Don't worry about what they're doing.
And manufactured guilt. I do want to talk about the very harsh reality of mass immigration in the West. This is something that is unparalleled. It is the top issue, if not the number 2 issue, with the number 1 being our sovereignty in America. And people might get upset about it. Some viewers may be upset, but here's the thing. This is factual information. Everything I'm about to talk about. The facts aren't inherently good. They're not inherently bad either. They're morally neutral. They are just facts.
Yeah, dude. I'm sure that everything you're about to say is definitely a fact and not at all your own personal interpretation of a set of facts.
The quote, it is what
Let's
it is,
hear
is
it.
Quite literally what
Let's
it is.
hear the facts,
and
bro.
The fact of the matter is that white Christian nations like the United States and the majority of European countries and Australia and Canada, they are being replaced. And the label that you get thrown at you for calling this out, it's not really sticking to many people anymore. They're able to see it in their everyday lives. These are normies as well. But for decades, we have been told that our diversity, that's our greatest strength. Everybody knows the meme of the newscasters, like 60 of them all saying it at the same exact time. Diversity is our greatest strength, like a robot almost. They're all saying the same thing. Well, they're all controlled by the same entity. But anyways, we've also been told that our nations are just abstract ideas. A lot of this talk comes from civic nationalists and the like. We are also told that our country should be treated like economic zones. This is something that really frustrates me personally. And that borders are a relic of an ignorant, bigoted past. We are taught this kind of stuff in public schools in America. I can't speak for other countries.
Huh? What school? What fucking school did you go to where they taught you that borders are racist or whatever? I mean, that's insane, man. That's crazy. That doesn't happen.
We are told to ignore our own eyes and our own empty wallets due to the hyperinflation money spending machine, and it's always worse than what they want to tell you. The stats, inflation's not that bad. Well, actually it is. We also are seeing our own communities turn into something completely different. But when we strip away all of this emotional manipulation that they throw at us, and we look at this issue through a cold, calculated, focused, hard lens of historic reality and sociology and economics and as well geopolitical strategy, a very different.
Yeah. I'm just revealing the secret truth, the cold hard truth. It's the red pill. It's the red pill woke tard. Okay, bro, just get to it then. Just get to it. All I've heard so far is that like the libtard universities or public schools, you didn't even say universities, they're like making you love brown people. Like, dude, diversity is our greatest strength because it is what it is what elevated this country. It is what caused the economic boom. It is part of what caused the economic boom of the mid 20th century. Okay, migrant labor was an important, very important aspect. Okay, and not just in the mid 20th century, but basically throughout the entire history of America. I mean, if you want to go back to the beginning, we imported enslaved people. Okay, we enslaved people in Africa and imported them here, and in a way, those people were like immigrants coming to our nation, our land. And we used their labor to, make profit and provide constituents with certain welfare. And, I mean, that's pretty much it. But that's not really up for debate. You can't say that none of that shit is true. So instead, what you do is you use pejoratives to attack minorities, to attack brown people, and you're like, well, they're just like welfare, they're just welfare queens, they are replacing us, they are doing whatever. It's not happening, man. Your parents, your grandparents, or whatever, they're German, okay? You said this in a previous video. They came here through Ellis Island. You are replacing us. You're replacing us, bitch. You're a fucking anchor baby. Who the fuck do you think you are? My family has been here way longer than yours, bitch. You're replacing me with your inferior German genetics.
This is something very unprecedented. It is not some sort of weather event. It just happened. Oh, it's raining. Oh, the weather here, it's so crazy. Have you noticed that everybody, doesn't matter where you live, they're always like, the weather's so bipolar here. It's like literally everybody everywhere says that about where they live. But anyways, like I said, when you look and you start to
so
peel the layers of
relatable.
the onion, you start to see this deliberate, engineered dismantling of Western sovereignty. You also start to see a massive wealth transfer from the heritage American, the working class, the middle class that just really doesn't exist anymore, to the global elite. And a very radical historical experiment that we are going to look back in if we fix all of this. And we're going to say, holy crap, how did we survive that? Because this threatens the very survival of our own civilization. It is that deep. So I want to break all this down comprehensively. So let me break down exactly what I want to go over real quick. So I want to look at the innate sociological realities of human nature. And that is because human nature dictates how we operate, whether we like it or not. Whether you want to accept that red pill or not, that is how we operate. It's one of the reasons in my Communism Never Works video, why communism never works. It is because human nature. I also want to go over the economic mechanics of the open border system.
Yeah, communism doesn't work because iPhone.
That is exactly what these massive
Because iPhone, because human nature.
Americans.
Yeah, man.
We also want to look at historical examples of nations that didn't really follow border rules too rigidly and what happened to them. I also want to tell you all about the weaponization of migration by the uniparty establishment. They both want it. Democrats are pretty open about them wanting it. Everybody knows that. The Republicans say they don't want it, and they're like, well, we're going to push back, we're going to deport everybody. But they actually don't. It's a trick up their sleeve that's hidden by the long sleeve that they have. It's just a trick to get you to vote for them. There is also a lot of geopolitical actors that are at play here, talking about NGOs, foreign lobbies, everybody knows about the big foreign lobbies, and a lot of them profit from this decline, as well as foreign adversaries that don't even like us. And then at the end of the video, I do want to put down a plan of action to reverse all of this if, let's just say, I was the president for a day or two. So, let us now get into it. I want to begin now with the most fundamental building block of any society that civilization has ever had, and that is human nature itself. So, to understand why mass immigration is sociologically destructive, let's look at the concept that the globalist left refuses to acknowledge. This is a word called homophily, and what homophily means is love of the same. It is the innate, hardwired human preference to associate with, live around, and build communities with people who are similar to themselves. So the media will constantly try to frame this natural human instinct of wanting to live around people that look like you and sound like you and share the same social norms as you and the same religion as hatred or bigotry or some sort of phobia. They make a new phobia every single day, and so it seems. But it is none of those things, actually. This is a evolutionary common sense.
No, it is. That is just like definitionally phobia. Phobia is fear, okay? Fear of whatever the prefix is. Okay, so xenophobia is the fear of foreigners, the fear of outsiders. Okay, when the reality is that outsiders come here to this country and they work for menial wages, and our rich people profit off of it, which is what makes us the richest nation on the planet.
For the vast majority of human history, stretching back hundreds of thousands of years, which is why I say this is not a natural phenomenon that we see when I said that earlier. This is something very new. But anyways, our ancestors lived in small, tight-knit tribal groups. In this ancestral environment, survival was a collective effort. Everybody had to put in the means to survive. We all went out on the hunt. All the women went and plucked the berries from the trees or what have you and took care of the kids. And then all the men kept the fire going to cook whatever they brought back. It depended entirely on group cohesion, mutual defense, and absolute trust. So, identifying who was a member of your in-group and who was an outsider was quite literally a matter of life and death. Humans evolved to use shared markers as cognitive shortcuts to determine who could be trusted. These markers were a shared language.
Okay, but then something happened, and that happening is called agriculture. And then humans began forming societies and hierarchies, and outsiders didn't become feared, they became exploited. Okay, throughout history, we have seen many civilizations rise and fall. Many great empires have existed. And all of them have one thing in common. Well, most of them have one thing in common. Within their hierarchy, there is an exploited immigrant underclass. Okay, whether those immigrants are enslaved or they are coerced, whatever. It's, you know, typically that is how the structure, forms. Okay, you have all the, like the peasant class. On the bottom below them is like the immigrant peasant class. Okay?
A shared physical appearance, shared religious beliefs, and shared behavioral norms. When you are surrounded by people who look
So you are making an argument here, which is a fallacy. Okay, it's called an appeal to nature. You're saying that because humans, before agriculture, had this natural instinct to fear outsiders, that means that we should do that today. Okay, that doesn't make any fucking sense. That's not logical. Okay, it does make sense in the idea that, okay, this is why we fear outsiders. This is why many humans fear outsiders. There's this hereditary, genetic component to it. If you want to say that, I would say it's probably a little more complicated than that. I don't know. I'm not a biologist. But, yeah, I mean, it's true. Like, humans did form tribes. They did fear outsiders by and large. Or maybe not by and large. Again, I'm not a biologist. But it is a thing. Okay, there is there is an instinctual component here. It's just that that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it good. Just because something is natural does not mean that's what we should do, or that's how we should structure our society.
And they pray like you don't have to really constantly analyze their motives. You share the same unwritten rules of conduct. You know what to expect from them, and they know what to expect from you. This creates what sociologists call a low-friction society, or the now popularized term, a high-trust society. This preference, this innate, like I'd like to...
I don't think sociologists call it that. Hold on. Okay. Sociologists do use the term, but it's more common in poli-sci economics. Sociologists usually focus on social trust, which is a more rigorously defined concept. Because social trust is a supposition about whether others will fulfill obligations, a generalization about society rather than a belief about individuals, not the same as reliance or risk, and it's shaped by structural features of society. While high-trust society is used in cross-cultural studies, political economy, comparative institutional analysis. A high-trust society is described as one where interpersonal trust is relatively high, shared ethical values are strong, and cooperation can occur without heavy reliance on kinship or state enforcement. So that's the difference between the two. Some sociologists avoid the term because they say it is insufficiently specific, similar to vague political terms like democracy. It can mask internal inequality, trust differences between groups, institutional versus interpersonal trust, and context-specific trust. Yeah, so like in America, I think we live in a high trust society, but like not really, because what we don't trust are institutions. Americans do not trust our institutions anymore. We don't trust police to protect us. We don't trust the government to protect us. We don't believe our representatives have our best interest in mind. But we do trust each other, generally. You know, Americans trust each other a lot, I think.
Innate preference. It means that we have this in our body, whether we like it or not, in our conscious. This is tied directly to the concept of reciprocal altruism. What does that mean? Well, human beings are far more likely to sacrifice their own time and money and resources for the collective good if they believe the rest of the collective will do the same for them in the future. Homogeneous groups naturally fast-track this mutual trust. So, when an entire nation shares an overarching culture and faith and ancestral history, the people view themselves as an extended family. They will pay taxes to fund a social safety net because they will see the beneficiaries as their own people down on their luck. They will volunteer in their own communities and leave their doors unlocked and let their children play outside because they trust the environment. But what happens?
Okay, alright, yeah, but what happens when you let brown people in? Yeah, I'll tell you what happens, man. They do the exact same thing. They care about their neighbors. They pay taxes and fund social services. How is anything that you said... How is any of what you just said apply to, Whitey, but it applies to the crackers, okay, but not the brown people? Why?
When you introduce rapid mass demographic change into a previously homogeneous society, well, the social fabric doesn't just stretch a little bit, it tears and bursts right at the seams. So when you inject millions of people from very different cultural and religious and linguistic backgrounds into a country, the social fabric of that nation plummets. This is social fabric. What is social fabric? Well, going right off of the Google definition, this means the networks of relationships, shared values, trust, and norms of reciprocity among citizens that enable them to work together effectively for common goals, kind of like everything we just talked about. Well, social capital in a country is the invisible glue of trust that allows a society to function smoothly without the government having to micromanage and police every single interaction. We actually have hard data on this as well. One of the most famous sociological studies ever conducted on this topic was completely buried by the mainstream media because the results were so devastating to the globalist narrative. So, in the early 2000s, Robert Putnam, who is a respected political scientist at Harvard, conducted a massive study on the effects of diversity on communities in the United States. And he interviewed a lot of people. He interviewed 30,000 people across a lot of different communities. Putnam, who is a self-described liberal who desperately wanted to prove that diversity was a strength, was horrified by his own findings because the red pill doesn't care what you believe in. The red pill only believes in one thing, and that is the truth. But he delayed publishing this study for years because he could not stomach the truth because of his own preconceived notions of it just all being fake and stupid. Well, what did he find? Well, what he found was that in the short to medium term, highly ethnic and cultural diversity significantly destroys social trust. What does that mean? Well, he found that in highly diverse communities, people do not just distrust those who are different from them. They actually begin to distrust people of their own background as well. In hyper-diverse neighborhoods, Putnam reported that people tend to hunker down. They withdraw from community life, and they volunteer less, they vote less, they give less to charity. They have fewer...
Okay, so what Jimmy is doing here is really nefarious, but, you know, not that that's surprising. Putnam didn't, like, put off publishing this work because he was, like, woke-tarded or whatever, okay? And he didn't want people to not like diversity or some shit. No. The reason that he did not publish this work immediately is because it took years to study this shit. Like, he followed up with these people. He didn't just interview people from these diverse communities once and then was like, yep, time to publish it. Like, that's not how fucking research works, dumbass. You're stupid. Okay, well, you're not stupid. That's why I say you're nefarious. You know exactly what you're doing here. Okay, you're focusing on the short-term consequences of diversity. Okay, now let's hear what Jimmy just said just now. Let's hear what he said again. Okay, let's go.
What he found was that in the short to medium...
And keep in mind, in the short term. Okay.
That is the truth. But he delayed publishing this study for years because he could not stomach the truth because of his own preconceived notions of it just all being fake and stupid. Well, what did he find? Well, what he found was that in the short to medium term,
In the
highly
short
ethnic
to
and
medium
cultural
term.
diversity
Okay. Okay, what does it do?
significantly destroys social trust. What does that mean? Well, he found that in highly diverse communities, people do not just distrust those who are different from them. They actually begin to distrust people of their own background as well.
Okay, no. It has nothing to do with trust. No. It has everything to do with social engagement. Okay, people in diverse communities in the short term, right, when you have a wave of migrants, when you have a bunch of brown people, a bunch of different people moving into a community, it doesn't cause people to distrust each other. It causes people to withdraw from public life. Okay, in the short term, like he said. But let's see if he talks about the long-term effects.
In hyper-diverse
Let's
neighborhoods,
see.
Putnam reported that people tend to hunker down. They withdraw from
Yes,
the
yes.
fear less, they vote less, they give less to charity. They have fewer close friends. They assume
This is accurate. Okay, this I agree with. Because it makes sense, okay? When you have a lot of when you have a community that suddenly becomes very diverse, people are put off by it. Okay, and this isn't because people are racist, and it doesn't mean that they're not racist. Okay, I think that Americans are kind of like apathetically racist by and large. But you know, this is not a symptom of that. Okay, people are withdrawing from community events because of diversity, and there are a few speculative reasons as to why that is. Yeah, the effect is not hostility, it's social withdrawal. It does not produce bad race relations, but rather a general retreat from civic engagement.
the worst of their local institutions. This is the psychological reality of balkanization. When people do not share a baseline culture, every interaction becomes instead a negotiation. Every political election becomes a zero-sum tribal census where different ethnic groups are going to battle to siphon taxpayer dollars towards their specific demographic. It's normal. Literally everybody does it, ever. And this study
Okay,
proves it.
no, the study doesn't prove that. It doesn't prove any of that shit. You only talked about the short to medium term, which doesn't even do what, it doesn't even happen what you say is happening. But what about the long term?
Completely fractures. We're all just Americans. That's just an idea. America's just an idea. No, not really. Not really. Under mass immigration.
Let's find out what Putnam's specifically, what the long-term conclusions of this are. Putnam's actual conclusion is that diversity creates short-term discomfort. Successful societies eventually create new, cross-cutting identities that increase social capital in the long run. Immigration and diversity bring major long-term cultural, economic, and developmental benefits. Historically, diverse societies have overcome early fragmentation by building more inclusive identities. He's literally hiding the long-term positive conclusions that this study found.
Assimilation becomes mathematically and sociologically impossible. Instead of immigrants melting into the host culture, which is the way that we were told is what happens, they instead start to form parallel societies.
That is what happens.
And what do you mean
No.
by parallel society? Have you ever seen an ethnic enclave? Something that looks like a homeland from their past country. If you want a big example of enclaves, you can look at any major city, but what comes to mind is maybe like a place in New York City. There's parts of New York City where almost all the stores are completely in Russian. There are parts of Minneapolis that are completely in the Somalian language. There's parts of Dearborn, Michigan where all the signs are in Arabic. So this is what I mean by a parallel society. They have their own churches. They speak their own language.
They put up signs in their own language. Oh no! Ah!
Their own neighborhoods. They have their own stores with their own signs on there. They most likely are sending U.S. dollars back to the country wherever they're from, and they still hold on to their
That's so
foreign values.
terrible.
The native population is then made to feel like strangers in the very towns that their own grandparents built. So, sociologically, forcing the mass migration of culturally distinct populations, in other words, what I mean by that is very freaking different people, into Western countries just overrides innate human nature. It disrupts the foundational building blocks of a community.
Yeah, it's natural, so it's
Social
good.
capital.
Yeah, bro.
And in replacing high-trust, cohesive societies instead with an alienated, low-trust, hyper-politicized economic zone. Now, let me move on from the sociological devastation of why mass immigration doesn't work to the economic devastation, which is more so what people want to talk about because they're too scared to talk about the social.
Just to be clear, Putnam did also talk about low trust. Okay, he did use those words, and I should have said this when I was talking about this before. My interpretation of his findings, I also, just like Jimmy, I somewhat disagree with Putnam. I don't see social withdrawal as necessarily people, like, distrusting each other. And, you know, I can see why people come to that conclusion. I don't see the logical narrative there. Like, because people don't do civil engagement, that means that they don't trust their own, or they don't trust people different from them. That doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't. Okay, and like, burden of proof, yada yada. All right, burden of proof is on you. If you're gonna say that individuals are distrustful of others because of diversity, I need a reason as to why. But it is undeniable that there is a decrease in civil engagement within diverse communities. Okay, it's just that it's only in the short term. Okay, that's it. In the long term, that's not what, it doesn't stay like that at all. And that's literally what Putnam concluded. And you're leaving out
want to be called racist,
intentionally.
I'm afraid of that term. I think that's dying a little bit, but that's just human nature. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Literally everybody's like that. So, now that we've gone over that part, let's look at the economic side. Because if mass immigration is so destructive to the social fabric, well, why do our politicians and corporate leaders push it so relentlessly? You would think, hey, maybe somebody who's made it to that level of government is intelligent enough to see, well, obviously this doesn't work, and a lot of our constituents, the people that we represent, they are not behind these things. So why do they push it so relentlessly? A lot of you guys probably have ideas brewing in your head already, but let's go through all of this anyways. A lot of the times, the answer is money. But more specifically, it is a massive transfer of wealth away from you, the citizen, directly into the pockets of the ruling class. Now, we are constantly fed the neoliberal lie that mass immigration is an unalloyed economic good. Yay! Wall Street Journal economist, I have a degree, I'm an expert. Chamber of Commerce Republicans and Open Borders Democrats all point to the same metric when they try to defend mass immigration, which is gross domestic product, or GDP. They tell us that importing millions of people grows the economy, so it's actually good for you. You heckin' racist chud, and you don't know how economics works. Well, Jimmy Talks actually loves economics. It's one of his favorite topics to talk about.
Well, boy.
But I'm going to tell you, this is one of the greatest lies in modern history. It is a sleight
All
of
right,
hand.
let's hear it.
Yes, mass immigration raises the aggregate GDP. That is.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, it's not really about GDP. Okay. That's not why. Like, you are correct about that. That is a fact. Okay. And then you're going to say, well, oh, but actually, it doesn't matter. And that's also correct. Okay. GDP doesn't fucking matter. What matters is economic output. Okay. What matters is, like, how much work these people are doing, how much they're being paid, and what they are producing with that work. Okay. And the answer to all of that is that immigrants produce a lot for very little money, and that is what drives the economy.
If you import 10 million people, there will intuitively be more grocery spots, obviously. There will be more gas pumps at the gas pump. There will be more cell phone plans purchased. The overall pie gets larger, yes. But what matters to you, the individual citizen, is not the aggregate GDP. We are not just economic units. What matters to you is the GDP per capita. Per capita. Something that people don't understand. The size of the pie.
See, I disagree with that too. I think that GDP per capita is more relevant. Sure. But, like, okay. Let me tell you a story, man. Two economists are walking down the street. One of them sees some dog shit on the ground, and he turns to the other and he says, I'll pay you $5 to eat that shit off the ground. Okay? He does it. He eats it. And he pays him $5. Alright, now they're walking down, and the other, the guy that just ate the shit, he sees some dog shit on the ground, and he turns to the other economist, and he says, I'll pay you $5 to eat that shit off the ground. And then the economist does it, and then they turn, and they're like, well, we just raised GDP by $10. Interesting story.
By the amount of people eating it, essentially. If an economy grows by 2%, but the population grows by 3% due to third world immigration, the average citizen is actively becoming poorer. The pie got slightly bigger, but your slice got significantly smaller. The first and most painful economic mechanism of mass immigration is wage suppression. It is a basic, undeniable supply and demand fact. Labor, your labor, is a commodity. If a government willfully floods the labor market with millions of foreign nationals who are willing to accept lower pay, longer hours, and worse working conditions, the value of native labor completely crashes and disintegrates into thin air. This proportionately targets the working class. Sorry about that. I had to pause and delete. My throat gets dry when I'm talking a lot. I had to drink some water. That's why I went the working class. Fun little side note. But anyways, This is also targeting the youth and the middle class who actually have to work for a living. Working class people and young citizens. What I mean by that is 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. The classic first job for them used to be McDonald's. They used to
Okay, but like the problem with what you're saying is if Americans demand too high wages, too high, if we demand too much money, they're just gonna outsource us, obviously. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't demand for higher wages. We should. Okay, it's just that we should also fight for welfare.
I don't know, a coffee place, literally anything like that.
Because rich people have a lot of money.
This is just one of their 3 jobs that they go to, so they can send all of their money back to
They got a lot of money, so they could be giving us welfare.
At a grocery store, well, good luck. All the positions are taken. They're taken by boomers who are bored in their retirement and they just want another job. And it's also taken by some guy who got here 2 or 3 years ago. All of these people, and it's not just the young people either.
Okay, but unemployment is down. Unemployment has been down. There was a spike during COVID, with all the COVID layoffs. And, arguably they flubbed the numbers this year, so unemployment might be up this year, but if unemployment is up this year, which is impossible to know because the numbers don't show that, even though it seems like maybe that is the case. It's not because of brown people, it's because of tariffs.
Entirely priced out of the labor market because they cannot, and they should not have to, compete with a bottomless pool of desperate foreign labor that's willing to stack up to 10 people in an apartment just to survive. They take all their money and they send it back home, and who knows, they might even just go back after they made all their American money and they built their nice fancy house with United States dollars. Corporations love this. When a massive agriculture business or a meatpacking plant or a construction company hires cheap foreign labor, they get to privatize the profits. What does that mean? Well, that means that their cost of payroll actually plummets. It goes down. The profit margins skyrocket because they're paying people less, and the CEO gets a massive bonus. But while the corporations privatize the profits of cheap labor, they socialize the cost onto you. You meaning the taxpayer. This is the low-wage, high-welfare trap. Millions of low-skilled immigrants use vastly more in public services than they will ever contribute in income taxes. A lot of studies are fake and gay. They say, hey...
There is some truth to this, by the way. It's just that, it's not because of the brown people being here that they socialize, like when the stock market crashes, what happens? Prices go up. Okay, wages are still stagnating, but prices go up. This is the socialization of cost, right? This is rich people passing the cost onto the consumer because they fuck up.
Hey, Jimmy, you heckin' racist chud. Don't you know that immigrants pay a lot of money in taxes? And sure, they pay some money in taxes, but overall, they consume much more than what they actually pay.
No, evidence? What is your evidence of this?
It's more of what they pay, thereby making them a net negative. It's not just a little bit either, it's a lot of it.
No, not a net negative. What is your evidence of this?
But because they are paid in substandard wages by greedy corporations...
Okay, you're just not going to follow that up with a source? Cool. Yeah, immigrants are a net negative. They take more than they pay into the system. Source? Hello?
Government assistance. Who pays for the migrants' emergency room visits? You do. Who pays for these
just to be clear, what he said, and the reason he's not citing a source is because it is a fucking lie. It is a lie, and you fucking know it, you piece of shit. Man, fuck you, Jimmy.
Who pays for the food stamps? Who pays for the
You're a scumbag.
Infrastructure? You do. Most catastrophically, who pays for the massive strain on the public school system, where teachers must now abandon regular instruction to deal with dozens of non-English speaking students who require expensive English second language, or ESL, resources? Once again, the native taxpayer pays for all of it. We are literally being taxed into poverty to subsidize the very corporate greed that is replacing us in the workforce. Then there is the housing crisis. You cannot import tens of millions
yeah, there is some truth to that. Okay, so corporation subsidies, yeah, that's real. Okay, we do subsidize corporations through taxation, and it's bullshit. Okay, because they're already profiting off of our labor, but then they're like, actually, we need more. We need more, taxpayer. We need more money. Fuck you. It's bullshit, okay? It's not because of fucking brown people.
Into Western countries,
dumb fuck.
Them needing a place to live, or a place to drive, and a place to exist. In America and in Europe and Australia and Canada, the population is expanding at a rate that completely dwarfs the physical capacity to build new homes. Couple that with boomers holding on to everything that they have, and people just buying houses just to turn them around and rent them out, alongside the corporations who do this at a much larger scale, and the people who buy houses just to turn them into an Airbnb, and you've got quite a big shit sandwich on your plate. This unmatched artificial demand skyrockets the cost of rent and home ownership to astronomical levels. Even gay, stupid Redditors can notice this. Everything is so expensive nowadays. Well, yeah, part of it is the stuff that you support, like mass immigration. That's not the whole entire story of why housing costs a lot of money, but I digress. So for the native-born citizen, especially us, Gen Z, as well as the millennials before us, The historic Western dream of owning a house like your boomers' parents had, or even your Gen X parents had, getting married and starting a family has been completely annihilated. It's not just with mass immigration either. There's plenty of different factors that go into this, but this is probably one of the biggest reasons why. But Zoomers and Millennials are forced to bid on a basic starter home against massive private equity firms on one side, and an artificially inflated, endless immigrant population on the other side. There's houses being
So the brown people are buying all the homes. Okay. Alright, what is your evidence of this? Keep in mind, immigrants are poor. Okay, mostly. Okay, not across the board. But, like, first-generation immigrants are mostly very poor. Do you think that they're buying houses? Is that what you think? You think that they're buying up all the houses? No, dumbass. It's the corporations. The fuck are you talking? Like you were saying, it's the fucking corporations. It's not brown people buying the houses.
You have 12 Indians who are all calling, trying to buy the house immediately.
The fuck?
On the other side, you have BlackRock saying, hey, I want to buy this house too. It's not that the Indians are inherently bad people or something. It's just like, listen, we don't have the space for you anymore. This is all this really is. This is
we do have the space for them by your own admission, actually, because you're saying that BlackRock is buying all the houses, which is true. They are. And then in the same breath, you're like, oh, we don't have room for you brown people. Well, actually, there are plenty of houses to go around. It's just that they're being bought by corporations. That's the problem.
Without exception, an immigration crisis. Furthermore, mass immigration destroys domestic innovation. What do I mean by that? Well, historically, when human capital is scarce and labor is expensive, a society is actually forced into greatness. Companies are forced to invest into new technologies, new machines, and better, more efficient processes to get the job done of whatever sector that they're in. But when a country relies on a permanent, endless pipeline of cheap, imported, physical labor that will work for a slave wage, businesses have absolutely zero incentive to modernize. Why would they? They will just throw another body at the problem. Eat the fine of having illegals, hire some other ones, eat the fine again. It's always going to be cheaper than hiring an American. It'll still be cheaper than making a robot do it. This turns Western countries into stagnant, low-skill, low-productivity, service-based economies, rather than the industrial powerhouses that they once were. So to understand how horrifyingly weird and abnormal this entire situation is, let me zoom out a little bit, and let's look at the thousands of years of recorded human civilization.
Nah, let's not do that. Not for this, no. Let's look at what other countries today that are manufacturing powerhouses are doing to boost their economies. Do you see where I'm going with this? Are you seeing where I'm going with it? Oh, that's right. Oh, it's China. Oh, wow. Well, what has China been doing to boost production? What have they been doing to, basically dominate every industry in manufacturing, with few exception, but with notable exception? Okay, the answer is that they do regulation. They execute their billionaires. They don't fuck around. Okay, they don't. They provide social services, welfare for their constituents. Okay, I'm not saying that China is perfect. I'm not saying I want a totalitarian one-party system, but I'd prefer it over this shit.
Advocate for open borders and mass migration.
I'd prefer it over liberal democracy as well.
Evolution of humanity. We're going back in history. Quick history lesson. You know, Jimmy always puts a history lesson in his videos. They tell us that homogeneity is weird. It's backwards. It's historically irrelevant. It's racist. Oh no. This is just a brazen historical lie. Homogeneity is the absolute norm of human civilization. What we live in now is not normal. What is happening in the West today is a radical, suicidal anomaly that has never been attempted in human history without resulting in the total collapse or conquest of those countries. So if you've been watching the channel for a while and you've made it this far, first of all, I appreciate you. But if you've been watching the channel for a while, you have heard me say multiple times, we need to know the definitions of words. So we must ask ourselves, what is a nation? What does the word mean? Today, politicians will talk about America as if it's merely an idea, like Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. It's just a piece of paper. It's just a tax bracket. If you can't afford anything, and maybe that immigrant's just better than you. Oh, really? You guys are the ones pushing for it. The companies are the ones pushing for it. They make more money hiring them. It's not because they're better. They're arguably worse in terms of worker quality and productivity. But anyways, let's go back to the word, the very word, nation. Nation comes from the Latin word natio, which translates to birth. It translates to origin, or you could even say shared blood. For nearly all of human history, a nation was understood as an extended family. It was a biologically and culturally and spiritually distinct group of people that were bound together over a shared territory. The concept of the sovereign nation-state, which emerged forcefully in Europe, was built on the premise that these distinct, homogenous people each deserve their own borders and the right to self-governance. For 99% of human history, we live in the off 1%, mass migration of this scale was simply just geographically and technologically impossible. People rarely traveled beyond the region that they were born in. When migration did occur, it was typically in incredibly small numbers over vast stretches of centuries. Now, this very slow pace allowed the newcomers to more or less completely assimilate and intermarry and blend into the country's population to the point of disappearing into it. The current phenomenon that we have nowadays, where airplanes and taxpayer-funded NGOs allow millions of culturally alien people to relocate across the globe in a matter of months, has absolutely zero historical precedent. Throughout history, the only time you ever saw highly diverse, multi-ethnic, multi-linguistic, and multi-religious groups living under a single government was within an empire. Think of the Roman Empire, or the Ottoman Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, or the Soviet Union. But, here is the critical distinction that you must understand. Empires were never democracies. They were never high-trust republics. They were held together under the powerful and often brutal central authority that was governed by an elite ruling class and enforced by a massive military hierarchy. Why must an empire be authoritarian? Well, because when a society is fractured into dozens of different ethnic and linguistic factions, they naturally vie for dominance. I hope this is all starting to make sense now when I talked about sociology first. That is why I talked about sociology first, so that you could grasp the rest of the concepts easier. But anyways, they do not trust each other. These people in the empire, this is why they're authoritarian. They don't trust each other. They do not want to share resources. The only way to keep them from tearing each other apart is through sheer state force. History shows us time and time again that the moment the central authoritarian power of a multi-ethnic empire weakens, the empire instantaneously starts to get weaker. It fractures along its natural ethnic and religious fault lines, almost always resulting in a bunch of people dying. Look at the Balkanization of Yugoslavia, the collapse of Austro-Hungary, or the violent partition of India. A homogenous nation naturally stays together through shared loyalty and kinship. A multicultural empire, on the other hand, is a pressure cooker that will eventually explode.
Yeah, dude. India, because famously, India was so homogenous. Yeah. Yeah, it was so homogenous, bro. It was definitely not a hodgepodge of different cultures that all speak different languages and...
It's not just my opinion. History shows this. Now, let's go back to the United States, modern-day United States for a moment. Because up until the late 20th century, the United States inherently understood this phenomenon. When you have a bunch of radically different people, eventually, to put it lightly, some fuck shit is going to start happening. American leaders explicitly designed our immigration policies to maintain our demographic, cultural, and political continuity. The Constitution itself even says, for our people and our posterity. Let me give you an example. The Immigration Act of 1924 had a massive pause in mass immigration and established the national origins formula, which explicitly limiting entry to preserve the historic European demographic makeup of the country. For 40 years after, the gates were pretty much essentially closed, allowing the country to build the most cohesive, prosperous, and unified high-trust middle class the world has ever seen. To be a boomer.
Huh?
What a great time it must have been. Of course, not everything is perfect, don't get me wrong, but at least you could afford shit back then. At least you could buy a house working at a factory job.
What? The border wasn't closed? The fuck are you talking about, man? America has seldom ever been isolationist. Actually, arguably never. At any point in our nation's history. That's insane.
So, you have to ask yourself, we have to ask ourselves, when did all this go wrong? What happened? When did the mass immigration nightmare begin exactly? Some of you may already know. If you do, then bonus points to you. But for the United States anyways, I don't know about the other countries. When I talk about the West, I mean, the turning point of all of this was the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, which is commonly known as the Hart-Celler Act. This legislation that the U.S. government passed was the reason why we have this modern demographic crisis on our hands now. So basically, in the mid-1960s, a coalition of liberal reformers wanted to abolish the national origins quota system that we had. So when President Johnson signed the bill, and when all the people like Ted Kennedy said, this is amazing, this is awesome, they blatantly lied to the American public. They stood before the country and deliberately promised that this bill would not alter the demographic and cultural balance of the United States. They promised it would not flood our cities with millions of people from the third world. Whether they were lying or simply just incredibly naive, the Hart-Celler Act did exactly that. It weaponized a concept known as family reunification, or in other words, chain migration. Suddenly, one immigrant could sponsor their brother, who sponsors his wife, who sponsors her parents, creating an endless exponential influx from non-Western nations. It opened the floodgates to the developing world and just severed immigration from the actual labor needs or the cultural cohesion of what we needed. Ironically, the 1965 Hart-Celler Act also established the first numerical caps on immigration from the Western Hemisphere, creating a massive bureaucratic bottleneck. What do I mean by that? A massive bureaucratic bottleneck. Well, the demand for cheap labor by corporations collided with these new limits, birthing the modern crisis of mass illegal immigration across the southern border. The 1965 Hart-Celler Act was essentially just the mechanism that fundamentally shifted America from a cohesive nation into a divided, balkanized economic zone that we live in today that I am personally just rather sick of. But why has this been allowed to continue for decades? Obviously it doesn't work. Anybody in their right mind who believes in the truth, they know this doesn't work. Well, the answer lies in the nature of our political establishment as well. The dissident right-wingers who watch this, the nationalists, whatever you want to call yourself, the America First crowd, we understand that mass immigration is uniquely weaponized by both sides of the political aisle. Donald Trump doesn't care to mass deport everybody. We've talked about this before. It is the ultimate bipartisan betrayal. It is what I call the uniparty. A lot of people call it that, but that just is what it is, the descriptor term I want to throw out to you. So, let's begin with the Democrat Party. The open borders left supports mass immigration. I'm talking too fast. I have so much going through my head all at once that I start mishmashing my words. Mashed potatoes. It's like churning butter. I don't know. But anyways, the open borders left, they support mass immigration because it is the most effective tool for long-term demographic engineering and electoral dominance. It buys them votes. It buys them a new vote. Keep voting me into office, I'll keep giving you free shit.
Really? Is that what Kamala ran on? Did Kamala run on open borders? Right? She's a lib, right? She's a libtard. Is that what did Kamala, did she run on opening the floodgates? Is that what she did?
It's all about compassion to them, no matter how they try to frame it.
That's not what I remember.
Democrats understand that if they import millions of people from poor third world nations and people who come from socialist leaning cultures, people who
he's right that Democrats, Republicans, they want brown people to come here so their labor can be exploited by the corporations that sponsor them. Okay, yes, obviously. It's just that the idea that the Dems are like being open and honest about how they want to exploit brown people, that they get to immigrate here through relentless bombing campaigns, that's insanity. Okay, there are tons of Democrats that posture themselves as tough on immigration all the time. It happens all the time. And it's stupid when they do it too.
The way their politics works is we killed the warlord and now we're in charge. They don't understand they don't even know what the concept of democracy is. They don't do that in their country. And as well as people who are overwhelmingly likely to require government assistance that they are importing, they now create a government-dependent voting bloc. So by pushing for immediate amnesty and by driving laws that bypass citizenship checks and the normalization of sanctuary cities, the left is deliberately diluting the political power of the native, traditionally conservative heritage American base. They want to permanently extinguish the political voice of the historic American nation. They wrap this up in the language of empathy, human rights. But their goal is the total, irreversible demographic transformation of the nation to walk in a permanent, radical left majority. But if the Democrats are the party of demographic engineering, the establishment Republicans are the party of catastrophic corporate greed. The populist nationalist right has nothing but contempt for the Chamber of Commerce, or the neoconservative wing of the GOP. Every election cycle, establishment Republicans will march up to the podium, they will look the American people in the eye, and they will talk tough about securing the border, mass deportations. But they never actually solve the problem. They never mandate E-Verify. They never aggressively deport the labor force. Well, why is that? Why do they say something, but then they don't do it? That doesn't really make sense. That's lying. Absolutely, it is. Because the Republican establishment is bought and paid for by the massive donor class. We talked about this in my last video. Maybe not my last video, maybe about 2 videos ago, about American nationalism, how it's the only way forward. But these donor class, these donor lobbies, like big agriculture, the meatpacking industry, the hospitality conglomerates, the construction lobby, all of these corporate entities demand a constant, uninterrupted flow of cheap, illegal, exploitable labor to crater the wages of the American working class and boost their quarterly earnings. It makes them a lot of money. So the GOP establishment engages in a subtle, theatrical, fake opposition. Well, we got to get our vote somehow. They complain about the border on everywhere. But they'll block any meaningful interior economic enforcement in all of the halls of Congress. They expand ICE, but then they stop doing raids. If you want to see a bunch of people gone, ICE needs to be everywhere, at all times. They don't do that, though. They are accomplices.
That's so crazy, man.
This brings us to the realization that stopping the influx is not enough.
Yeah, man, they won't brutalize me. They'll only brutalize the brown people. Let me tell you something, man. ICE is going to kill you. They're gonna kill all of us. That's the point. They don't fucking care. They don't care if it's brown people or whatever. They just want to shoot. They just want to start blasting. Blow, blow. They want to fucking kill you. They want to kill me. You know, you can act like you're the one wearing the boot or whatever, like Tim Pool said. You're not. You're not the one wearing the boot. They are. And they're gonna step on you, bitch.
To restore national sovereignty, we have to talk about policies that terrifies the establishment more than anything else. That is mass deportations. The immediate rebuttal from the media regarding mass deportations is always a mixture of economic doom-mongering, or emotional blackmail, or just straw-man arguments, or just, you're a racist. They will sneer at you, and they will say, mass deportation would destroy the economy, you stupid chud. Who will pick the crops if we can't pay all these Mexicans $1 an hour to do it? I'm like, do you hear yourself right now? Who will clean the hotel rooms if we can't pay Juan's wife $2 an hour to do it? Prices will skyrocket.
Yeah, I mean, you're right to call this out. Like, it is gross. It is fucked up. Yeah, it's just that the solution isn't to violently deport them. The solution is to pay them a living wage.
Right now? You're kind of supporting, like, a slave class right now, and you're taking away jobs.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, wow. Wow, it's almost like Republicans do that too. They just don't say it. They're like, oh, well, we'll definitely do mass deportations. We will.
You hear yourself? Live Tucker reaction? You know the meme? The face he makes? When I hear this kind of stuff, when I read this stupid stuff on my screen, I'm like, I start squinting, I start cringing. Like, you don't know what you're talking about at all, do you? This is the exact same pro-slavery economic argument that was used all the way back when there were slaves around. If an industry claims it cannot survive without relying on
Yeah.
a shadow underclass of highly exploitable, illegal foreign labor working for below minimum wage, then that industry's business model is fundamentally corrupt, it's anti-citizen, and it's un-American. Removing the illegal labor force forces
I
industries to do what
completely
free markets are
agree.
actually supposed to do, and that is compete with
No,
capital.
no, dude. I'm almost afraid to ask this question. Do you think that instead of emancipating the enslaved people under the chattel slavery system, do you think that we should have deported them? Do you think that would have been better for the nation, for them, as a people? That's insane, man.
Yes, corporations will have to raise wages. They will have to offer better benefits to entice Americans back into those fields. They will have to invest in mechanization and automation. Will the cost of a fucking hamburger or a freaking head of lettuce go slightly up in the short term? Yeah, perhaps. But the native working class will see a massive, life-altering surge in their wages that vastly outpaces that inflation. Furthermore, removing millions of illegal aliens instantly frees up the housing supply. It dramatically lowers rent and home prices across the country because now there's more supply and less demand. It's actually that simple. It is actually that simple. They will lie to you and say, I'm an expert. Experts say. Don't you love seeing that in the news? Experts say. Who the fuck is the expert? Some experts say. We're not going to say who the expert is. Okay, sure. Anyways, then they try to tell us that mass deportation is logistically impossible. They say we cannot possibly track down and deport millions of people. This is a pathetic lie of omission. We do not need a federal agent knocking on every single door in all 50 states.
You just did a lie by omission like 5 seconds ago. What the fuck?
Strategy of mass national.
That's a lie by omission. Like, bro, you did that. You did that like one and a half seconds ago.
CEOs and managers will start to go to fucking jail. Those jobs will vanish overnight. Can you imagine a CEO actually going to jail for hiring a bunch of illegals? How many of them want to fuck around and find out then? Probably not a lot. If we cut off all access to the American welfare states and we ban access to public schools for illegal migrants, we remove subsidies for their housing, and we tax their remittances to hell, the economic magnet is completely destroyed. Why would they come here? Once the benefits disappear, the vast majority of illegal aliens are just going to pack up and leave on their own terms. And for those who refuse, we would use an expanded ICE for. We need to actually have them out there. We would use ICE to forcefully remove them, and you should really be going after the gangs and all. You should be doing high visibility workplace raids. Send a message. Get the repeat offenders out. Get everybody. They're all going back. So if any of them try to say it's infeasible to deport them all, well, with a strong nationalist government that actually has a set of balls, no, it isn't. The government needs this. You guys want to hear one of my favorite quotes ever? It's from Scarface. Tony Montana said it. All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Powerful quote. I wish our government would do that. But anyways, let's look at the next argument they try to use. They say, oh, we can't deport all these people. Shut up, idiot. Yeah, we can. The emotional blackmail. And people fall for this. The Goyim fall for this.
No, you can't. You can't deport them. How? Oh, well, we're just going to round them up and then we're going to send them back. Well, okay. So, you're going to round them up, all right? That part's pretty simple. Okay, you find them. You find the brown people. Are you brown? Are you not? Okay, come with me. Come with me. You're under arrest for being brown. Okay. That part's easy. Now, where are you going to send them? Well, nobody will take them. They can't go back to their home country. The government won't accept them. So then you're left with two options. Okay, you either like dump a bunch of people in wherever you can find to put them, which has geopolitical implications in it during a time where our country is already incredibly unpopular on the global stage. Also there's no guarantee that these people will be safe in their new country. Well, we don't care about that. Okay, all right, fine. Still, geopolitical problems or there are ramifications for doing something like this. So then the next solution is to try and do it the right way, and in the meantime, we'll just keep them in fun little detainment camps. Okay, we'll put the children in cages, and, we'll send the adults to, like, CCOT or whatever if we can't find somewhere to send them. Okay, well, you're just genocidal. And that's exactly what this is. That's what ethnic cleansing is. It's genocidal. Okay, you want to kill these people, whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you know it or not. You are advocating for genocide.
They will quote the poem on the Statue of Liberty, for example, and tell us...
This is bar for bar what the Nazis said. Oh, well, we can do it right. We can get them out. we can do it. But at least the Nazis had the excuse, that even though they were genocidal maniacs, at least they had the excuse that, like, there were no Nazis before them. Okay, there was no historical precedent for this sort of thing.
Immigrants. Turning people away violates our core values. Do we really need to go 30 minutes back into the video and repeat the sociology aspect of why this all doesn't work?
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, you want to talk about Putnam again? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and lie. Why would you bring that up? Especially right, dude, you are so projecting. You are so projecting right now. You were calling out a lie by omission earlier, and that got you thinking about, the lie by omission that you committed just a few minutes ago. And now you're like, oh, do I really have to go back and talk about that? Well, yeah, I'd like to hear that, man. Go back and talk about it. Go ahead.
But when they say this,
fucking loser,
turning people away, we can't do that. That violates our core values, Chud. This is poetic propaganda. If you are a midwit and you think you're really smart but you're not, this is poetic propaganda that is just made to paralyze our survival instinct. As I said earlier, America historically heavily regulated its borders. Early naturalization laws literally restricted citizenship to people of European descent who shared the founding characteristics of the nation, meaning you could only come in if you were a European. That is how our country worked in the past. During the Great Migration waves in the 19th century, back then when I'm talking with the European immigration.
Okay, well, those were immigrants that had a different culture from ours. Like your immigrant ancestors, your German, your disgusting, genetically inferior German ancestors who were not white when they came over here, by the way. Were not considered white. You are not white, Jimmy. Not according to the standards of the past, okay? Germans only became white after many decades of the immigrants already being here. Same with Italians. Same with Italians.
There was no welfare state. If you came and you failed, you just starved or you went back. And a lot of them did actually just go back to Europe.
So again, I ask you, are you really so confident? Do you really think that ICE is going to not brutalize you? Is that, oh, they would never brutalize me. I'm white. I am a white man. They will never kill me. Okay, Jimmy.
Is not a charity.
Okay,
we're not a charity.
Find out for yourself.
For the whole entire world. Me and my countrymen, me and my patriots. We are not here to do that for you. Who the fuck do you think you are? Our borders do not exist to solve the poverty of the third world. Sorry, the world's unfair. You're not going to ruin my life and my extended family's life. Talk about patriots and the other right.
It's you ruining my wife, my life, brown person. You are ruining my life. It is definitely not the corporations that are exploiting everybody, including myself.
Family. That's why I'm so fucking patriotic, because we got people who think just like
you.
They believe in the same things. Cool. They're part of my extended family now. So you're not going to ruin our fucking lives. Because we have to solve the poverty of the
it's you. You're ruining my life. Yeah.
They exist exclusively to protect the safety
fucking
and prosperity
dumb
of the
fuck.
borders. The borders exist exclusively to protect the safety, prosperity, and the heritage of the American citizen. Just like that. Slapped on my desk a little bit. Maybe you heard it in the background. I don't know. Listen, I'm a passionate guy. All I got's my balls and my word. So let us dig deeper. Who else actually benefits from the mass immigration agenda? We're not done yet. No. We're not done yet. In this video. It is not just domestic.
You really think you had something there. You really thought that was like a cool moment, didn't you? It's lame, bro. You're lame.
Corporations, no. There is a sprawling, multi-billion-dollar network of non-governmental organizations, or in other words, the shortened form of that is NGOs, and foreign interests that are actively conspiring against the American people. Yes, actively conspiring against the American people. I'm going to call this the immigration industrial complex, or sort of like the military industrial complex. Yes, there is one for immigration as well. There are some NGOs that maybe don't share the same values. We're both Christian, but they seem to think that...
No, you're wrong about that. It's not two separate things. Immigration is integral to the military-industrial complex. Why? Well, let's look at what the military does. The answer? They go and bomb and pillage, resource extract. This naturally causes immigrants to leave. They're like, oh, fuck, we gotta get out of here. Where do they go? Well, America is like, oh, sorry we bombed your country. Sorry we did regime change. Oh, you can come here. You can come here. Oh, yeah, we got jobs for you. You can get $2 an hour to pick some apples, okay? It's a great time. So then they come here, and, what do you know? The military-industrial complex caused a wave of migrants for corporations to exploit. Yeah, it's almost like it's the same thing. It's almost like it's the same process. It's almost like immigration is just a small part of a much larger military apparatus.
somehow good.
Wow.
We need to respect God. Yeah,
Those same immigrants, by the way, will inevitably either join the military themselves or have children and grandchildren that will join the military to further fuel this process, okay? Because they want to get the Camaro. They want to get the Camaro, bro. That's what they want. They want the free college.
But then we have Catholic charities and Lutheran charities who are making a nation more chaotic and leading to its downfall. Do you think that's a godly thing? Personally, I don't see it that way. But there is a lot of immigrants.
Okay, all right. Don't fuck with the Lutherans. Don't shut the fuck up about the Lutherans. All right, I'm chill with the Lutherans. They're honestly like I've considered joining a Lutheran church. I don't know. I've been caught between like Catholicism, but I can't really do that because I'm a Protestant at heart. Look, Lutherans are chill. Okay, they got the same problems that a lot of other Protestant churches have. Yada yada. I've talked about it before, but like generally, we love Lutherans. Okay, they're epic. They're epic style.
They might not even be Catholic or Lutheran.
Don't talk shit about them.
That kind of premise. I've seen it personally, actually.
And by the way, there is real criticism to be had of like church drives, as you know, I will always maintain that charity is good, okay? It is a positive thing. It is not bad. It's just that it isn't enough. It isn't enough. Because if charity, if the goodwill of churches, of congregations, if that solved poverty, if it solved homelessness, if it solved food insecurity, then nobody would be homeless. Nobody would be starving in this country. Nobody would be malnourished. But that's not the reality. It's not the fucking reality. So it's not enough. That's why I say we need welfare.
So I didn't technically see it then. But I digress. I talk in lifetime kind of like I'm streaming. I'm not really interested in being a streamer. But I don't like
yeah, because you're a fucking pussy.
But I had a viewer of mine. Quick story. He told me, he's like, hey, yeah, I had this guy. He came here. I was like, where'd you come from? He said, Africa. And he's like, okay, well, how'd you come here? He said, this is a Muslim person, by the way. He's a Muslim African. He said to him, well, I just told the Lutheran immigration, like, refugee service. I just told him I was Lutheran, and they got me to America. And I scammed the shit out of him. And he was like, really? And he's like, yeah, I'm Muslim, bro. It's like, wow. So you're telling me a lot of people are doing this? And it's not only that. We also there's the Hebrew immigrant.
A lot of people are doing this. Wait. So you talked to one person that told you their story, and your conclusion to that is, so a lot of people are doing this? What is your evidence of that? What is your evidence? I don't think that there are a lot of people who will denounce their faith, right? Who will pretend to be Christian when they're Muslim or whatever else so that they can get something out of it. There just aren't a lot of people that can do that. And look, that guy, you know, that's fucked up that he did that, but like I understand that there are pressures, there are extrinsic factors here. Okay, so like I'm not gonna judge a person who experienced much different material conditions from me, much lower conditions. But I will still say that objectively, that's not good.
I know people love.
It's not a good
1.0 GPA when they hear somebody talking about the Jews. The plug starts plugging in right to their head. If you know Instagram, if you watch Instagram Reels a lot, you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, there's lots of them with good intentions, but they're not really working with the nation. Okay. Not even talking about religion anymore, like the religious NGOs that facilitate it. There's also a lot of open borders NGOs just in general. They want open borders. And by the way, I'm not throwing shade at Christians or anything. I'm Christian myself, but I think I don't think that's a good thing what they're doing. I think that they may be misinterpreting scripture wrong, but I don't think that God would advocate for the slow decline of a country. I don't think he would advocate for that at all. So they should stop doing that. But anyways, I don't like to dance around that stuff. I know it's true. It needs to stop in my opinion. But all of these immigration industrial complexes, they essentially are operating.
You know what God would say that we should do? He would say, my children, you must round up all the brown people and either send them somewhere else or brutally kill them and murderize them. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what God would say, man.
Because NGOs,
yeah, you're so right.
They do take taxpayer dollars. The federal government contracts out the housing and the transportation and the feeding and legal defense of all of these migrants to a lot of NGOs. It is a profoundly evil public-private partnership. These organizations receive hundreds of millions of dollars in federal grants. The more foreigners they funnel into middle America towns, the larger their budgets grow, and the more their executives get paid. They are paid mercenaries of demographic replacement. Additionally, you have globalist billionaires like George Soros and his Open Society Foundations pouring limitless capital into legal advocacy groups to fight deportation efforts, lobby for open borders, and push a post-nationalist ideology that views Western borders as inherently racist. So if you ever get some jackass who tells you, oh, an immigrant stole your job, maybe you should get better. You don't even know how any of this works, do you? you are speaking to, when you hear that, you are speaking to a child. They have no idea what's going on. You're probably speaking to a normie. Do you know what normies need? They need to put every single Jimmy Talks video, they need to have it played. They need to be strapped down in a chair with the eyeball openers. Their eyeballs just stay
Clockwork
open.
Orange
It's loud. They
style.
got surround sound speakers. We'll feed them. We'll treat them nice. But they just need to be strapped down, and they need to watch every single Jimmy Talks video until they get it. I'm just kidding. Obviously, that's crazy, right? No, seriously, I'm kidding. Obviously, you can't change people's minds. A lot of them, they've been propagandized. They're so far gone. But anyways, beyond the NGOs, foreign governments view the United States as their personal geopolitical safety valve.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, man. And actually, there is historical evidence that is completely contrary to that. People can be deprogrammed from their propaganda. Look at Nazi Germany. Do you think that we murderized all the Nazi sympathizers, all the Nazi supporters? No, we didn't. We set up fun little camps for them to go into, and we showed them the horrors of what they supported. And many of them were, understandably horrified and ashamed. That's it.
Corrupt governments in Mexico, Central America, and beyond that. They export their most desperate and impoverished criminals and dissatisfied populations to our countries. By doing this, they prevent communist revolutions and social unrest at home.
And by the way, I'm not saying that that is necessarily a positive thing. The shame that is, but it is a natural byproduct of being exposed to, something terrible that you helped create.
Never having to fix their own broken societies. If you don't believe me, Venezuela did it. That's how Maduro hated the U.S. He literally sent.
So all that is to say, like, Americans have been propagandized to support this liberal democracy, this republic structure, which brutalizes innocent people overseas, kills them, maims them, steals their resources. But this has been going on for a long time. Sins of the father, yada yada. I'm not telling I'm not like a I'm sorry I'm white, I'm sorry I'm mailing right now, okay? That's not what I'm fucking doing. This country has done a lot of fucked up shit in the past that you don't need to feel bad for. You just need to feel bad for, if anything at all, which again, it's not productive, okay? But like, if you are going to feel bad for anything, it should be the things this country has done that you have supported actively while the country is doing it. Like, say, I don't know, bombing innocent countries, civilians, kidnapping their leaders for no good reason because they wanted to nationalize their oil industry, stuff like that.
US, why do you think you have all these
fun little things like that?
MS-13 gang members who control whole entire apartment blocks in cities like
that's not real. That's not real. Yeah, no, it wasn't Denver. It wasn't Denver. It was Aurora, I think, and that was a fucking lie. Yeah, that was just like propaganda, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, it was it was something that the Trump admin used on the campaign trail to win the election. It wasn't real.
Entire shit is their trap house. You need to bring in all those big up-armored vehicles, get ICE in there, and deport them with the most Gucci'd out, clapped out AR-15s that you can find. Scary guys with armor are coming in to send you back. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyways, these countries, moreover, they extract massive wealth from us. Migrants wire billions
You're
of
so fucking horny when you talk about this shit, man. It's so fucking weird. Oh yeah, big strong men with their whacked out ARs are gonna come fucking shoot you in the face, brown people. I'm so hard right now.
Every single year. This is capital
so
generated
weird,
in the American
bro.
economy that is sucked dry from local American towns and injected into foreign nations. This way they're able to take United States dollars and send it back to their family. Maybe they're able to live in a multi-generational home for a big one, a complex even. Something that many Americans would love to do. A lot of Americans would love to have their own plot of land with acres and acres. With
40 acres and a mule.
Walk down the street, take a little four-wheeler, take a golf cart down to Granny's house.
Yeah, where's my 40 acres?
Well, they get that in their countries because they take all of our dollars and they send it back home.
Where is it? I'm Scottish.
And the George Soros Foundation, they all profit from all that. So it's just another funny thing the left does. They don't know what they're talking about. They haven't actually looked into just the raw, cold, hard, unfiltered truth. They don't like, why are you blaming the immigrants? You should blame the rich people. We're blaming both. But also,
why? That is what I keep saying. See, I know you're watching my shit. I know you're watching my videos. Rich people. That is like bar for bar what I keep telling you, bro. Yeah, blame the rich people. Don't blame the brown people. Why? Why do you say both? Why? Because the brown people be working? That's why? Also, if you are saying it's both, why is all of your rhetoric so focused, hyper fixated on the brown people? I never hear you talking about rich people. Ever! All you ever fucking talk about is the brown people, the gay people, the trans people, blah, blah, blah. That's all you ever fucking talk about. You're an NPC. You are exactly what you say the libtards are. You just fucking say the same lines over and over again. Say the line, Bart! Say the line! That's you! That's you, you fucking stupid fucking chud. You dumb fucking secretly gay chud, probably.
If I didn't talk about Israel, because we have to have an honest conversation about the role of foreign policy in mass immigration. A big version of this would be neoconservatism. I made a whole entire video on why neoconservatism is a scam, and the Israel lobby regarding our borders. From a strict America first, paleo-conservative perspective, which many of us are, that is what I am anyways. I don't want to speak for everybody else, but that is just what I am. There is a glaring, intolerable hypocrisy that is in the political establishment regarding Israel in the United States. Everybody is very aware of this nowadays. They're aware of it, but they don't know how.
Hypocrisy?
It's bad. It's really bad.
I don't know about that.
For decades, the neocons, which are very deeply aligned with pro-Israel lobbying groups like AIPAC,
Yeah.
the neocons are pretty much just scientists. They have driven the U.S. into disastrous wars in the Middle East to further Israel's objective goals in the region, under the false pretext that we need to spread democracy or whatever fake reason they like to throw, and securing the region for key U.S. allies. America spent trillions of dollars and thousands of lives overthrowing Iraq and Syria and Libya and beyond. They're trying to do this with Iran right now. Well, what was the result of that? The destabilization of the entire region, which unleashed catastrophic waves of millions of refugees directly into Europe and North America, which massively accelerated the demographic collapse of the West. Furthermore, the hypocrisy regarding border security is honestly, genuinely breathtaking. I'm holding my hand up. It's breathtaking. The American Uniparty cheerfully sends billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars in military aid and defensive funding to Israel specifically, so that Israel can build a massive border wall, aggressively deport all of the people that shouldn't be there, maintain a strict ethnic and demographic majority, and defend its status as an ethno-state. Yet, the exact same politicians, both Democrat and Republican, who vote to fund Israel's border
still
walls,
got token Palestinians, though.
Racist, it's fascist, it's xenophobic. You have to ask yourself a very simple question here. If maintaining demographic...
Yeah, I mean, that is a good point, okay? It is weird when liberals will be like, and this is more like, this is less common now, so I don't really know why you're talking about it, but a few years ago, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, liberals be like, you racist MAGA tards, you racist, you maggots, okay? You are so racist. You love deportations. But anyway, here's why I love Israel. Here's why I love the ethnic supremacist apartheid state of Israel.
High-trust societies and impenetrable borders is an existential necessity for Israel, which it is for any country. Then why is it suddenly...
What? Necessary? Huh? You think that, like, Israel doing that is awesome? You think that, like, everything that Israel does domestically is, like, so epic and wholesome? Are you fucking stupid? The fuck are you talking about, man? Look at it. Look at what they're doing. Look at what they do to Palestinians. What the fuck are you talking about, man? That's like a model civilization, huh?
Connect extends to domestic advocacy groups as well. We have groups like
you guys talk so much shit about Israel. Why would you say that? I'm genuinely scratching my head right now, man.
While simultaneously spending millions of dollars to lobby for...
Like if that's so awesome, then what is your problem with Israel? If that's so epic and cool, that what they do to Palestinians, is it that they are like allied with us, but they look really bad? Or like is it that they bomb other countries? Like what is it? What is your big problem with Israel?
Refugee resettlement, and erased borders here in America. I reject this double standard entirely. I demand that the exact same rights of a national survival that our political class affords to foreign nations also belongs to
he would probably say that like Israel controls America. Okay, except that they don't. Christian Zionists control America. Okay, Christian Zionists support Israel in America. Israelis are in Israel. Israelis are in Israel, by and large. They're not the enemy within. Okay, so if you support Israel, then you support Israel. Okay, that's it. That's it. If you are against Israel, then you are against Christian Zionist. Okay, and you have to recognize, because it's an objective reality, that Christian Zionists are the people who control our country. So I'll ask you again, why do you dislike Israel? What is the big problem with Israel? They aren't controlling our country, man. They aren't. You can say it all you want.
Now, we're getting near the end of
It's
the
the
video.
Christian
Knowing all this,
Zionists doing
understanding
it.
Sociological collapse and the targeted economic destruction of the middle class, the historical reality of nations, the treachery of the Uniparty, the profits of the NGOs, the geopolitical double standards. How do we fix this? How do we reclaim the United States? One has to ask. Well, if I was the president, this is what I would do. It's because stopping mass immigration and restoring the historic American nation requires a ruthless, comprehensive, 6-step, scorched earth policy approach. Here's what I would do. The first thing I would do is immediate executive border closures. If I were the president, I would declare a massive national emergency and deploy the United States military to the southern border to completely seal it. I would immediately end the catastrophic catch and release protocol. Absolutely ridiculous, silly, retarded. Every migrant encountered must be held in secure detention facilities rather than just catch and release them into the interior, or immediately deporting. We must aggressively reinstate and expand the Remain in Mexico policy, forcing all asylum claimants to wait outside of the United States territory, so that they cannot just disappear in our country with this silly and
Dude,
stupid
they cannot stop talking about
Biden.
Biden.
Apps that allow unvetted populations to bypass border checks.
Dude,
Fly directly
use
into
your
our country.
fucking
Yes, this
ability,
happens.
bro.
Seriously, it does.
I'm sorry, it's not going to be in the video when I upload this, but he's playing GTA right now, and he's playing as Michael, but he never uses the slow-mo ability. Why?
Don't believe me? Okay, go walk into a city. Go walk around and look at everybody.
Why? You didn't shoot
next
that guy
is
because of
destroying
that.
economic magnets. What do I mean by that? Well, if illegal migrants cannot earn a living or leech off of the state, they won't come. Simple as that. Congress must pass mandatory e-verify legislation with severe criminal penalties. I'm talking about, specifically, if a CEO or a manager knowingly hires illegal aliens, they do not just get a fine, you are going to federal prison. We must impose massive taxes on remittances as well. You tax every single dollar that is wired out of the country by non-citizens at an extraordinary rate. 25, 50, 75%, who knows? So we keep American wealth in America. Furthermore, if I were the president, I would sign an executive order correcting the suicidal misinterpretation of the 14th Amendment, explicitly ending birthright citizenship for the children of illegal aliens, thereby removing the anchor baby incentive entirely. Next would be the largest deportation operation in human history. It would be the best. I'm going to sound like Trump. It's going to be the best, the greatest, except I actually do what I say. It's going to be the best, the greatest, most magnificent deportation operation in human history. ICE must be dramatically overhauled, modernized, and relentlessly expanded. We must strip every single dime of federal funding, from highway grants to law enforcement aid, from any city or state that declares itself a sanctuary. You want to betray the country? You don't get our help anymore, and we're kicking all these people out. Simple as that. We must utilize expedited removal powers to immediately deport migrants who cannot prove legal presence, bypassing this backlogged, corrupted immigration court system. They will be standing outside the courthouse to take your ass back. We will target criminal groups if I were the president. We will perform massive workplace raids that are very visible to everybody on corrupt agricultural and meatpacking plants, and I will begin the swift, orderly, and unyielding removal of tens of millions of people who have no legal right to be here. Even legal? Yeah. Wait for that part. Next, I would defund the NGO industrial complex. I would launch an aggressive federal investigation into all of these groups and the open borders legal networks. I would strip them of their federal grants and all of their taxpayer dollars. You're no longer getting that to the American.
Yo, these conservatives, they be like, why do people call us Hitler? It's because they want to write us off. It's because they want to write us off. And then they say shit like this. They're like, oh yeah, I would do Hitler shit. I would do what Hitler did.
Taxpayer is not.
Why do people call me Hitler? Why? Why?
Sorry, not sorry. No, fuck you. Straight up.
Yeah,
we
man.
audit their operations, and if they are found to be aiding, abetting, or coaching illegal migration or human smuggling in any capacity, like, hey, when you go to court, say this line for line, it's a legal workaround. I will freeze their assets and prosecute their leadership to the fullest extent of federal law. Now, next, I guess the legal immigration thing. Let's get to that.
God.
Halting illegal immigration only stops
Terrible at this shit.
To cure the disease, however, you don't treat symptoms.
This car
you
is
treat
going
the
to be
disease,
ugly
right?
as
To
fuck.
cure the disease, we must
Carbon
address
hood?
legal immigration. We
He's
need
getting
a
the
Modern
carbon
Immigration Act of
hood?
1928.
No, dude.
We must implement a stringent 10 to 20 year complete moratorium.
He just put a carbon hood on with the chrome fenders, bro. He's got chrome fenders on. Oh my god, dude. Oh, you're. Just stop. Just go back to the B-roll, okay? That was a good idea. That was, unironically, bro. Stop with the gaming, okay? Your gameplay, like my gameplay isn't the best either, okay? I'm not saying it's got to be perfect, but this is just so dog shit. You're tasteless. You're tasteless. I don't even know what to say, man.
This pause is absolutely vital to allow the American market to tighten, which will drive wages up for the American
He
market.
is currently making the ugliest car I've
Thorough
ever seen
system.
in Grand Theft Auto.
We must fully repeal the disastrous 1965 Hart-Celler Act, permanently ending chain migration and the diversity visa lottery. When the moratorium
Some
eventually ends,
GTA
immigration must be
Online
severely capped
shit.
and strictly limited to Western countries or individuals with extraordinary world-class skills, which is very rare, who are a net positive to the American taxpayer while prioritizing cultural compatibility. Now, lastly, the last thing I would do would be weaponizing America First foreign policy. I'm a patriot to the core. If it does not benefit America, we do not do it. America runs the world when we want to. Not we, but the people in charge have effectively taken away our our say in the world. Everybody used to bow down to America. I'm bringing that back. We must use our unmatched economic leverage to force compliance from all of these countries exporting their problems to us. We will threaten crippling, devastating tariffs on Mexico, China, and all of these Central American countries.
That's not gonna work. The fuck? Devastating tariffs? Yeah, devastating to us. What the fuck are you talking about, man? You are... Dude, I mean, the deportation shit, that was stupid. But, like, at least I can be, okay, alright, you want to scare brown people, like, that, yeah, alright, that makes sense. Alright, you want to kill brown people, you want to scare them, okay. Alright, so that's what we're doing. But you think that tariffs are a good idea? Did you learn anything from the last year? What the fuck are you talking about? Didn't your, like, your femboy idol, Nick Fuentes, gay Mexican Nazi, didn't he, like, leave the MAGA movement over this? Like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Tariffs.
Unless they militarize their own borders.
Let's hear that again. Let's hear that. Let's get a replay on that.
Not we, but the people in charge.
I will crush our opposition by tariffing them, by imposing tariffs.
I'm bringing that.
Yeah, great idea, man.
We must use our unmatched economic leverage to force compliance from all of these countries exporting their problems to us. We will threaten crippling, devastating tariffs on Mexico, China, and all of these Central American countries.
Yeah. To who? Devastating to whom? Who will be devastated by this? Mexico? Is that what you think? Are you fucking serious, dog?
We must immediately cut off.
Oh my god, man. I can't. It's so dumb. It's so brain dead. Head empty. No thoughts.
Sorry, we don't negotiate with terrorists.
What?
We're using that for other countries now. Get used to it, because we come first.
Yeah.
Our foreign
Yeah,
policy
you tell him,
must serve the
Jimmy.
whole way first.
Hoorah!
I was getting a little passionate there, but my friends, the hour is late. But these situations
He's getting a little passionate
the
there.
globalist elites have pushed our societies to the breaking point. They would assume we would quietly manage.
Bro,
our
you
own
are
affairs.
so lame.
They
You have
underestimate the
no...
spirit, the historic
Look,
American
you are not entertaining. You are not an entertainer. You are not entertaining. You're not getting passionate. You're fucking boring. You're boring and you're stupid. You're lucky that I even watch you. Okay, luckily I don't watch you for the entertainment factor or for the good takes. I watch you because I want a certain kind of perspective. A certain kind of dumbass perspective.
They underestimate.
That's why I watch you, man.
Especially the dissident right, the nationalists, the America First crowd. We recognize that true sovereignty is not measured by the GDP growth of multinational corporations, but by the safety and the cohesion and the prosperity of our own people, our own families.
God, you
and our own
suck at
heritage.
this game.
Mass immigration is a weapon that is forced against us by a hostile elite, and it is a weapon that we will break.
Alright,
Thank you all for watching,
that was
for
pretty
seeking
good.
the truth in an age of mandatory deception. The algorithms and the corporate overlords despise this message, and channels like mine are constantly targeted for censorship and deletion. Because of this, it is absolutely
I
critical that
wish
you
you'd
not
get
just rely on
deleted
YouTube to provide
sooner.
content. If you want to stay in the fight and ensure you never miss anything, make sure to follow me on X.
Like, I'm not saying censorship is a good thing. I hate it too, bro. But, like, the way I see it, like, if your channel gets deleted, it's like a happy little accident,
and on Rumble
you know?
right now, in case YouTube suddenly bans my account for articulating a well-thought-out position on why we need to get rid of mass immigration. It's a pretty educated take, isn't it? YouTube doesn't care. They don't care. We just talked about all the stuff that goes on. Of course YouTube is compliant with that kind of stuff. They're part of the multinational conglomerates. But anyways, the links to my Rumble and my Zitter are down below. Furthermore, my videos, my channel, is entirely funded by you, the viewer. It's also funded by ad revenue. I don't take corporate sponsorships. I don't answer to anyone but the viewers. I am for the people. If you haven't noticed by now, maybe you're new to the channel. That's okay. Grab a chair, sit down. There's plenty more to come. Welcome. Welcome to the channel. But I don't take all that. Please consider subscribing to my Patreon for just $5 a month to support the channel, keep the lights on, and help me continue spreading the America First message. That's all. I'm not going to go and plug that anymore, okay? Now, I ask all of you to stay resolute. Be the statue in the wind that just holds steadfast. Be the statue in the hurricane that stands there. Be the rock in the stream. Everything else is flowing past you, but you stay still and you're resolute. Hold the line, and I will see you all in the next video. God bless you and your families.
Oh, now
America
you
first,
use it.
America only.
And you still missed with a railgun. Wow, dude, you are just, you are stinky, man. You are really, really stinky.